Salutations everyone, some of you may know me as Wooden Railway Edward, and if you don't, well, now you do. As you can see in front of you, there are a plethora of new in-box Thomas Wooden Railway items that I'll be taking a look at in today's video. This video has been in the making since November when I first bought a couple of these items. I wanted to do it in the winter, then the spring, and now here we are in the middle of summer and this video is finally coming to fruition. My last unboxing video was in May of 2021, over a year ago now. And my Mega Thomas Wooden Railway unboxing video was actually filmed in the summer of 2020, so that's 2 years ago now. I'd consider those fake unboxing videos because while I did look at a couple of new in-box items, I also just looked at some used items that I found off eBay. And although I did look at a fair share of items, they weren't as special as what I think this video could be. So obviously, it took me a lot longer to collect all these items because they are way more expensive compared to their used counterparts. Every month, I periodically bought a couple of these items until I thought I had a healthy amount of items to look at. And there are 11 new in-box items that we'll be looking at. And also, this package, as you can see on screen, that we'll be looking at, and although that's not new in box, it is something that I think will change the course of my channel. I'll explain that at the end of the video. I put a poll out on my community tab asking if I should make this video one long video or split it into two parts. A majority of people said that I should make it one long video, similar to my Mega Thomas Wooden Railway unboxing video, which was an hour and a half long. Hopefully, this one won't be as long, as I'll try to cut down some of the fluff, some of the uhs and the stuttering to make this not so unbearably long and tedious to watch. With all that said, I think it's time to start looking at these items. So, let's take a look at our first new in-box item. I hope you enjoy the video. And the first item that we're going to be taking a look at is a road vehicle. As you can see, I have the road set up. And it is the Thomas Wooden Railway George. He has his late 2010 packaging, as you can see, and I looked on the wiki for a long time, and there's way too many different types of packaging. I didn't realize how many that Learning Curve made toward the end of their tenure making the Thomas Wooden Railway brand. And I do recognize this packaging because last year I acquired, or 2 years ago now actually, I acquired a Thomas Wooden Railway Dodge in this similar style of packaging, which is the packaging they used late 2010, early 2011, before they sold the licensing to Tomy to make the toys, and they were liquidating their stock from the mid-2000s. So George was actually originally released in the mid-2000s. I think he was retired in 2006, but they brought him back in 2010, which is really nice. And this packaging sells cheaper online for some reason. I really don't know why. I think it's because they had a surplus of these models in this packaging. But I really would have liked to get more of these items because they've released some really cool items. But anyway, this is actually not the first George I got. The first George I bought back during Thanksgiving when I first started making plans to make this video was this George. I got this, and as you can see here, let's hope it focuses. He is missing part of his eyebrow. And, that's not really that big of a deal, but me being a perfectionist, that really ticked me off when I first opened this up. And, I was going to live with it and open it, because I don't really keep that many items new in box. I'm going to use this for my series and videos. But I was just going to roll with it. As I kept thinking, though, it really started to bother me. So I bit the bullet, and I bought another George. And actually, the George I bought after this one with the missing eyebrow was cheaper. And the reason why is because I got this from just a single seller on eBay. And I think I used a gift card that gave a discount on it or something like that. I remember I got a discount. But I bought this in February, I think, and this was in November, as I said before. And this is from one of those listings you see on eBay where it's a stock photo, and you really don't know which exact one you're going to get. It's just that they have a quantity of them, which they get from, boxes of merchandise that didn't sell to stores. And the pitfall with those is that usually some of the items have defects because they weren't the ones that ended up on shelves. I've also noticed with the lot of not for sale or for display only, I guess is what they say on the bottom, engines that I got last year, those have some painting defects. So I suspect that those are the ones they designated to have, you know, in display on stores such as these. So that is a little bit concerning that I buy a lot of those types of deals. At least I have another George. So anyway, we're going to take this one off screen. He's just going to stay up on my Thomas Woon Railway shelf. And as you can see, I like how the later Learning Curve packaging, they actually had this little flap on the back, which you can open it up and not really damage the packaging. You know, those theft-proof packaging they had in the mid-2000s, those are brutal. I think we're going to open up a few of those in this video, and those boxes are going to be completely destroyed. But this George right here, let's see if I can open him on screen. A new thing I'm trying out with this video is I'm using my microphone instead of the audio recorded on the camera, so hopefully it sounds better. But it also might be a challenge as I don't want to get away from the microphone, but I might have to for a second here. So maybe I'll just scoot the microphone over and try to get this George out of the box. I do want to keep these boxes. Sorry that there's nothing on screen right now. His package actually isn't too destroyed, which is very nice. I also like with this packaging how they had this name plaque, I guess you could call it. I remember getting a Stanley like this, and I actually hung it up on a bulletin board, which is kind of funny. I don't think I have it anymore, though, which is kind of a shame. But I remember getting that Stanley because I got him at, you know, this retail store. I think it's kind of a store similar to Sears. You know, I had sold a lot of different stuff, but it also had a small toy section. And, you know, I really miss those types of stores. But, you know, stuff like Amazon completely ruined those. So, actually, here's George out of the packaging. And the packaging, actually, right here, it is in pretty good condition. You know, I didn't really mess anything up. And trust me, I've messed up packaging before trying to keep it nice. There was this little plastic insert that went inside the package, which, you know, held his front roller thing in place. And there's the packaging right there. At the end, I'm going to show all the packaging, you know, that's left over. And let's zoom in a bit here. And, you know, let's put George on the track. First impressions, he looks pretty good. I love his paintwork. It's very nice. And the yellow part on the funnel on the top is also really nice. Looking at him now, it's interesting to see he is kind of skinny and, you know, kind of insignificantly small. Well, he feels insignificant, I guess I could say, but he still is very good. As you can see, the face right there, that's a George face. I do wish that he was more angry or upset. A face similar to, I guess, Smudger would be a good, or Bulgy, I guess, would be a better example since he's kind of in league with Bulgy. You know, he doesn't like the rails and stuff like that. I could never decipher those codes, but I do believe that RC2 means something. I can't remember off the top of my head. He has his name in white font, right? Or white, well, a font, but in, you know, white text right there. And on the bottom of the wheels, they are kind of obscured by his body. They are not the normal type of Thomas Woon Railway wheels, but it does say 2003. At this point, with these learning curve models, it doesn't really even... You don't bother to look because they're all 2003. It doesn't matter. I don't know why I even looked at it, but, you know, maybe one of these days it's actually going to have the correct date, and, you know, we're all going to be surprised. But I don't think that day's going to come. Anyway, that is really a weird shape, as you can see there. I guess you could call that his boiler. He has his name printed right there, which is very nice. And I guess not much of this model is actually wood. The parts that are wood are this part right here, his cab section, the roof, and besides that, everything's plastic. Yeah, I think everything else is plastic besides that. What about these? It's kind of interesting to see how thin these supports holding up the roof are. I think they are wood, though, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not really sure what that detail back there is, though it could be his coal load, maybe. Maybe that's what that detail is. But as you can see, he's very new, very crisp. This is why I love unboxing these new in-box items. because it's just so nice to get mint items. And from now on, I really do want to exclusively get the mint items because they're just so nice on camera, and they're just a treat to film with. You don't see any of the scratches or anything, and uh-oh, I may have spoke too soon. As you can see right there, there is a defect. Well, look at that right there. Okay, so it, as you can see, his wheel's the inside of his wheel is supposed, well, yeah, wheel. It's supposed to be black right there, and I have no idea what that is. That's kind of disgusting, but it seems like some of the paint is chipped off right there. I don't want to mess with it too much, but that probably isn't something a Sharpie couldn't fix. Yeah, I could probably use a Sharpie on that, but that is a little bit disappointing that he was facing this way so no one could have seen that. But, the other model had a defect and now this one does. That is a little bit, disheartening to see that, but it's not the end of the world, I guess. I was going to give this item, flying colors, but with that defect I just found moments before I was going to end this segment, that really, not to be a Debbie Downer, but that kind of ruined this model for me. Well, that's over-exaggerating. It didn't ruin this model, but that is a bit sad, I guess you could say. Overall, though, as you can see, as he rolls, I guess I should have shown him rolling around the track. That is really nice. His wheel is a bit wobbly there, as you can see. But he sounds nice on the track, and he actually, it's kind of cool, though, that most of his, the front wheel is all smooth, and then the back wheel, too, is just smooth around the rim of the wheel, so he does fly along the line pretty nicely. Overall, I'm pretty satisfied with this George. I do wish that defect on his wheel wasn't there. That's pretty annoying that I just found that, but I can live with it. Overall, a pretty nice item. Let's move on to our next box. Let's hope that the next item we take a look at is better than the previous one. After going off camera and examining that George further, he had a lot of quality control problems, and it is discouraging that I bought two Georges and both of them had defects. I can't cry over spilled milk as I bought both of those months and months ago, and it isn't really the seller's fault either. It's really not anyone's fault, it just is one of those things that kind of discourages you. But as I said, I can't worry about it now, and I hope this next item will be better, and I think it will be, because it will help me out in the future. It is the Mattel Thomas, and this item was on shelves, I'd say, for about 6 years, and the packaging really didn't change that much for these items, though the Thomas inside did have some major differences compared to the first run of this model, which was probably manufactured in 2013, and as you can see, here is my 2013 Mattel Thomas, that does have a bit of edge wear on it, and that is why I wanted to replace this Thomas with this Thomas, as this Thomas, as I said, has a bit of edge wear and is, just a bit old. This Thomas is not, and I've been looking for this Mattel Thomas for an extremely long time, I think about 3 years now. I was just looking for the right price, and eventually I was able to find this one for about $16. And that is a bit pricey. That's more than the retail price that it originally was. But it's the best price that I could find for over that period of time. So I thought it was a good choice. You can see the Thomas Wind Railway logo in the top left corner, all the normal details that it usually has. And on the back of the packaging, if it would focus, thank you, you can see that it is the Tommy Thomas, and this is another annoying thing. That Learning Curve didn't update the wheels, Mattel didn't either, and they didn't update the back of the packaging, so these hideous Tommy faces are still there. And I think that went all the way up until when they went to Thomas Wood, so that is kind of lazy. It has 2P written on it. I think that's from the original owner. I'm not really sure what that means, but don't worry about it. There's just a bunch of gibberish on the back, the barcode. Not too much interesting to see there, and you will notice, I'm not going to lie about it because that would be kind of crummy, this Thomas is open, and that is because in a previous take when I was trying to do this section of the unboxing, let's just say it turned out to be a disaster. So I got a long ways through, and it just wasn't working out. So I'm going to redo this. I have opened this up, but I haven't gotten too far into appraising this model. the package is open, so I guess it's not a true unboxing of this item, but I think it still will be fun to look at it. So there's the packaging. I do find it interesting that the packaging never fit the engine shape in these later days. It was just sort of a box with the wheel indentations. And this Thomas right here, which is now out of the box, was rattling around quite a bit. So I hope that he doesn't have any damage on him. Because with these new models, I'm really hoping that there's no damage. That's why I bought them new in box. So I want them, for the price that I paid, to be in mint condition. So let's set Thomas on the track right there and zoom in a bit. And he rolls around the clickety-clack track quite nicely. And, his details are pretty crisp and nice. I don't think the camera's picking up just a lighter... He's more light blue than the camera's picking up. The camera has more of a darker blue. But here's the 2013 Thomas for comparison. And as you can see here, his wheels are filled in. They're filled in all the way. And they do say 2012. This Thomas right here, the wheels are not filled in. There's little indents on the wheels. So that's how you can tell that this is from a later production date, probably 2015 to 2016. Well, this older Thomas is from the first run of models that they made. And I got this for Christmas, I think, around 2014, if I'm not mistaken. I also got a Gordon and the Giggling Troublesome Trucks. That was a pretty good Christmas. And that's how I got some of these new in-box items from Mattel. I also got my duck from a birthday. So a lot of these Mattel items I got, special occasions. I didn't buy a lot of these myself. Looking back at this item, though, the dome fits nicely. Well, I'd hope it would, but you do see that, I guess it doesn't pick up on camera very well, but there is a noticeable part line. And I do think the quality of these items went down as they were produced. You can also see... Oh, that's a bit disgusting. There's a bit of glue or some lubricant right there. And you can see the parting line with the boiler, too. So that is a bit cheap and nasty. But, Mattel, they went downhill pretty quickly. I think after 2014, the models up until that point were great. And then they just really fell off a cliff. And also, another thing I don't like is that you can see where the plastic mold finish, sort of similar to, if anyone knows this, on some certain Lego bricks or Lego parts, I guess, some in general, you can see the line where the mold came off, and I don't particularly like that. And on the Learning Curve models, that wasn't the case. And on this Thomas, that wasn't the case either. So you know that they are capable of not doing that, but as I said, they got a little cheap and nasty towards the end there. The models now, I do appreciate. I'm not the biggest fan of the TWR 2022 models, but I will say they are a big step up from Thomas Wood, and I do have a couple of those. I have Hero, Gordon, Thomas, and Diesel that I'll be taking a look at in another unboxing video, so be on the lookout for that. Anyway, back to this Thomas, there's not too much more to say, but I will be using him for a special project that I'll be discussing at the end of the video when I also take a look at that big package. And the face here, I don't think it's very different from the face right here. And I do have another 2013 Thomas. It is not the normal variant. It is the Happy Birthday Thomas. And I also got this for my birthday one year, which was really nice. He came with that cake cargo car. And it says Birthday Thomas right there. And his wheels are actually not filled in. And I believe this was released around 2015, so that would make sense. He is a very nice model, though. I really like this Birthday Thomas. And it is a shame that he is a Birthday Thomas because he's in very good condition, so I could use him for my series. But unless it's Thomas's birthday every episode, I don't think that would work out. I have been using this Learning Curve Thomas, which is a 4-display only model, which is pretty nice, but I have been using him for my remakes, and I think I'll stick with that because I just feel like he fits better with the classic series and new series remakes. I don't think I'll be doing any CGI remakes anytime soon, so I'd just leave that Thomas for my series and this Thomas for remakes, which I think is nice to showcase both of these models, which I think are very well made and, very premium. So I think that's all I have to say about this Thomas. He is a very nice model. He does have a few quality things, not as bad as the George, but just a few quality things that I would think that Mattel went downhill when they were making. You can see a parting line right there too. But just some things that I would have preferred to get the original run of this model, but for the price, I really couldn't pass this up. I don't know when I'd see this one again. So for what it's worth, I'm very happy with this model, much more so than the George, and let's move on to our next model. This next item will have more of the namesake unboxing, as it's from the era where Learning Curve was pretty crazy about theft-proof packaging, which I don't blame them for, though it is a pain to try to get these out of the packaging when you do purchase them. And I actually do have a Trevor, if you've watched any of my videos. Most notably, I'd think Edward in the exhibit, when Trevor was a side character. You can see I have a Trevor, and you might be wondering, well, why did you get another one? Following the same pattern as the Thomas, this Trevor has a bit too much edge wear for my liking. His right eyebrow is a little worn off right there, and I just do not like the amount of right there. You can see a lot of the paint is off on that curved bit right there. I just do not like all of the edge wear that model has, more so than the Thomas. So that's why I finally bit the bullet and purchased this Trevor. And I distinctly remember I was coming home from a hockey game one day. I was on the computer, and that's when I purchased this Trevor right here. And I think it was a bit of a scam, as the Trevor in the listing was pretty new. Even back then, I was pretty crazy about trying to get the new in box, well, not new in box, but mint condition items. And it did look in mint condition, so I did purchase it, I think for about $8. And this Trevor came, this one right here, which has a ton of edge wear, and it did really bother me. But I held on for a couple years. I think that was about 4 years ago now. Finally, I just had to get a new Trevor, and this is actually the most recent item that I purchased. I got this, I think, about 3 weeks ago, and I've really been wanting to open it. It comes with a character card, as you can see, and it also comes with a pamphlet, which will be interesting to look at. So I'm just going to zoom out a bit there, and let's try to unbox this Trevor without causing too much damage to the packaging. There's a bit of plastic film right there. The light shining off of it, which was kind of cool. And the pamphlet right here, let's see what year it's from. I love these pamphlets so much. I poured hours and hours into just looking over these when I was little, and I circled all the items I wanted for, Christmas and different holidays like that. And the pamphlet is from 2006. So I think Trevor was originally released in 2001. So, this is a later version of the Fergus. And as you can see, the new models were Old Slow Coach, which I have, Dennis I have, Neville I'm looking to get, Molly I have, the Giggling Troublesome Trucks I have the new version, and the Birthday Thomas I also have the new version of that. Available for 2006 only. They have that Oliver, which I have. I now have the Toad, and that S.C. Ruffy, which I really don't like that version of S.C. Ruffy. Wow, that is just... I really love these pamphlets. I'm definitely gonna keep that. Moving on, though, there's also a character card, which I only have 2 character cards. I have an Isabella one, and I also have a Circus Train one, though I cannot find the Circus Train character card. Which is kind of strange, because that isn't even really a character. Maybe it was the Ivo Hugh and the Zoo Train. I'm not sure, right? But it was in a drawer, in some cabinet, but I don't know where it went. It was in a really random place. I got my Isabella one, which is pretty bruised up. It has a lot of creases, but I don't know where that other one is. I do know where this Trevor one is, though. Obviously, I just pulled it out. And, let's just read the back of it really quickly. Trevor is very old and likes to have the opportunity to show he's still really useful. He enjoys dozing in the sun, and best of all, giving children rides around the fields. Trevor really likes his children. That's such a weird thing to make a personality around, just liking children. RC2 was the parent company of Learning Curve, I'm pretty sure, and of course Hit owned the brand by that point. That is a nice picture of Trevor, and I'm really happy to have another character card. as those are something that I really haven't delved into that much, but I'm looking to get more of them as I buy more of these new in-box items. That's kind of cool. I'll be keeping this also. It's the imprint of Trevor. It kind of looks like a race car with uh, whatever, I'm not a car expert, whatever part that is, and the huge wheels right there. Maybe more of a monster truck now that I'm thinking about it. So we will open Trevor right here, and he's going to pop out of the packaging. And he does have one minor mistake. Now I'm just looking at him right here. Besides that, he is very clean. And one thing I do like about these models is, it is kind of weird, but the smell of these new items from the box is really nice. It has a really nice, just new TWR smell, which is kind of strange, but it does bring back memories of first opening these up. Here's the Trevor right here from the side angle, and the only mistake that I can see, oops, I bumped the camera there, sorry. The only mistake I can see is that a bit of his yellow funnel came off on the black right there, though I don't think that's something a Sharpie can't fix. His face right there, it is absolutely perfect. I know some people don't like this Trevor, but I really do. He's small enough that he's proportionate relatively in TWR terms to the engines. None of Thomas Wynn Railway is proportionate, but he does have the smaller face, which is pretty cute. I really don't like that 2017 Trevor they made. I know some people prefer that one, but he's just kind of ugly. I don't know why people like him so much. He has the nice accents right here. Maybe it's the Fergus, and actually we'll be taking a look at a Fergus later. His flywheel is scratched off, which is a bit annoying. Thankfully that's not a problem with this model. With this model now, that's just going to be an extra in my collection video. That's really the only time you'll see it. On the bottom here is Trevor. There's a little code right there if you can see that. And on the wheels, let's see what the wheels are dated. 2003. Okay, I was wondering if it would be 2001 and this was just overstock. But no, it's the 2003. I do like how his wheels are just all black. I think that does complement how it's black, and then there's the green and then the yellow and red right there. He does have painted coal, which I think is pretty interesting that they didn't give him molded coal. He's probably one of the only engines from the 2000s era that had the painted coal in this era. I do realize that I didn't bring out my road track for Trevor, but I think that's okay. He could probably drive on the rails if he wanted. He is a traction engine, so he does run off steam. I think he could pass as an engine. That was always confusing back in the day. I didn't really understand what Trevor was, but now I understand that he works in the orchard, He's a traction engine that runs on steam, but not a locomotive. And side by side, these two do look kind of funny, seeing two Trevors coupled up like that. But you can obviously notice that this one is the old one, this one is the new one. And this is the model that I'm happiest with so far. He is really crisply painted. This pamphlet that I also came with the model is also very nice. I'll be keeping that. And I'll definitely be keeping this Trevor. You will see him in all my upcoming videos. Maybe if I do a remake of when Edward saves Trevor, or the party that Trevor has with Birdie, any of those episodes, you'll see Trevor. And let's just move on to the next item. Maybe it will top this Trevor. For this next item, I did bring out the road because it is specifically to maintain the road, and actually it's two road vehicles. It is the Sodor Road Crew with the rubbish truck and the Sodor Road Sweeper. You could also consider that a garbage truck for us Americans. Saying rubbish is kind of fun, though. And let's just get that more in center here. And this isn't an item that is essential to a Thomas Wynn Railway collection, but it is definitely one that adds something to the background of episodes or remakes, which I've been doing several of in the past year or two. And instead of just using Lori and Isabella as background trucks, it will be so useful to use these and also the Sodor Light Crew, which I'll be looking at later. There also is the hook and ladder and water tanker, though I do not have those at this moment. I am looking into purchasing those soon, though. For right now, we have this to look at, and this packaging is from 2004. It's right down there. And this is the last year of the non-theft-proof packaging, if I remember correctly after looking on the wiki. And you really could just open up this tape and slide these engines out. So I understand why they moved to having the packaging with that Trevor had. On the back here, there is not as much gibberish as there is on packaging today. Collect all of your favorite vehicles. Bring the world of Thomas and Friends to life with engines, buildings, and endless track layouts. That is just so nice. It just feels like a real world that you're creating. And I did enjoy how they pushed the road vehicles in the mid 2000s when they made road specific destinations and all these obscure road vehicles. Also, they made the ambulance and the scrap lorry, which is also a really nice item, but that is pretty pricey. So I don't know if I'll be buying that anytime soon. There is a barcode covering up another one. I wonder what that's about. I don't know if all of the items had that. It is labeled 2004 though, and it does have that lion logo, which I'm not really sure. What is that for? I don't really know what that's for, but that's still in the packaging to this day. And it does have that classic Thomas Wooden Railway logo. And there is a collector card included. So I don't really know what you could say. Character-wise, these aren't not engines. These aren't vehicles with faces. I don't really know what you could say about their character. Maybe that they're just useful. Really, the driver would be useful of these because they're operating it. But I digress. Let's just get these out of the packaging. It will be nice to look at two of these. And there is a bottom insert that's holding these in, though maybe that doesn't come out. I'm not really sure. These do come out, though, and the bottom insert came out there. There it is. I'll be keeping that, too, because why not? I'm running out of space every time I look at another one of these, but it is fun to keep these around. This insert right here, another one of these plastic inserts, is a bit dusty, but from being in a package that long, I couldn't really blame it. And this package right here, this is really nice for display, and you see there's no really damage to it as it just slid out. I'll be definitely keeping that. And the character card is wrapped up in the pamphlet. I'm going to open up the pamphlet, because why not? It's probably from it definitely is from a different year. And I do like how they updated these pamphlets every year. Mattel released pamphlets for 1 year, but then it got stale, and after a year they just stopped including them. There is really no new engines that are listed on here. This is a bit before my time, but there is an interesting thing right there. At the bottom right there, the Sodor Blocks and Bridges. I don't really know what that is, though. I do know that Sodor Blocks Destination. I have seen that on eBay, and I was going to purchase it, but it just seemed kind of pointless. I know that Thomas Wooden Railway, Keekray24, did an unboxing video of that, and it was pretty entertaining to see what creatively he could come up with there. One interesting thing about this character card is that it is very flimsy. It is very, as I said, flimsy and pretty thin. It does say, the Sodor road crew helps to keep the roads on the island clean for Birdie and all of his passengers. That's kind of an interesting description. That's not too bad. I remember that famously some of these have terrible grammatical and just errors in general. So I do hope that someday I get one of those, because that would be kind of funny to read. It is a nice picture of the Sodor road crew, but as I said, that is very flimsy, and I don't really know why. Pulling up the Trevor character card, it is a lot thicker. I don't know if I could compare these two. Well, I guess I could. He's about one card thicker than the other character card, which is on the bottom, which is pretty interesting. And here is the first truck, which is just rubbish truck, in pretty big font right there. And take a look. It is a lot shorter than a normal engine. If I bring in my new 2013 Thomas, it is fairly shorter than this Thomas right here, though the truck is pretty tall, which I guess is sort of realistic. I guess these trucks would be pretty tall in real life. The scaling, though, as I said with these Thomas Wooden Railway models, is always off, so just don't worry about that. It's just the charm of these models I really think that sells the Thomas Wooden Railway line. This rubbish right here is similar to the recycling cars. It has the dumping car. It reminds me of the dumping car that I got, and I got that for Christmas one time, so that also has good memories attached to it for me. And it does lift. It makes a clicking noise as it lifts. I thought maybe this part would rotate up and down. Or side to side, I guess you could say. And it does go... Okay, that is kind of funny that it goes all the way back. I think if he was driving like this, most of the garbage in here would be, I think, down the street by that point. And then I guess maybe that's the role of the street sweeper, to clean up all the garbage this guy's dropping, because he's pretty incapable of it, not very good at his job. There is a weird mark. Ooh. Wow, the lighting really messed with that. There is a weird mark on the windscreen. I'm not really sure what that is. I'm trying to rub it off. There's just a lot of problems with these models today. It's not really that big of a deal, though. And there is a tiny magnet right there, which is pretty interesting. Does that connect to another magnet? It does. Okay, that's just kind of weird. I understand why they did that, because of this right here that would block the other magnet, that would block a normal size magnet when this is down. But it is really interesting that they just didn't add a magnet at all, but decided to add this tiny magnet, which still works. I've really never seen that before. It has a little light right here to warn people, I guess, that the garbage truck's coming. I do wish it had a bit of back detailing on here, but that's not too much of an issue. This part right here is all plastic, but besides that, it's mostly wood, which is nice, and it is pretty scrunched. And there is really not that much printed detailing. Let's say we know what the wheels say, 2003. I guess as you move it along, it does sweep the street. That is a tongue twister. And it does have a nice texture on there. It does rotate around. It does say street sweeper. And I do like the color scheme of these, with the darker blue and also the light baby blue, I guess you could consider it. I'm not that good at color, so maybe that's wrong. But that's what it roughly looks like to me. It does have the steering wheel and front detailing. This truck right here, does it have... Okay, it does. So I didn't notice that, but it does have this front detailing. And there is still a fair amount of liquid in there, which is pretty nice. I know on some eBay listings they sell the Waterworks cars for pretty cheap, and it's because it does not have the liquid inside. It's all evaporated. But this one has stayed pretty intact. I know that my aquarium car... Oops. There is another weird mark on that. I don't know why there's... I think it's glue that's on the top of this, but let's not worry about that now. I do know that on my aquarium cars, most of the liquid has evaporated on those. So I'm not really too worried about that. That's not really that big of a selling point to me. Just something I wanted to point out. Overall, though, I think these two models are very interesting. I'm really glad to have them in my collection now and use them for various videos. Going along the road, they do move pretty nicely, and they do look very nice as well. So let's move on to our next item. I think this time we'll take a look at another engine. We'll go back to some road vehicles, but I think it's high time that we took a look at another engine. Though I am very pleased with these models. They do have a weird mark right here and a glue mark there. But overall, they're pretty nice. And as I said, I'm just really happy to have these now. As promised, here is an engine. As you can see, I have the clickety-clack track out, and this engine is a diesel engine, fittingly named Diesel. It is strange that the first Thomas & Friends Diesel was just named Diesel. It would be like naming Thomas Engine, which is very strange. But anyway, moving on to this diesel engine, it is a peculiar packaged one. And it did stump me for a little bit trying to figure out what era this is from. And the best that I can determine after looking online for a while is that this is the European style packaging. If you turn it around to the back here, there is many different languages that this is in. And just looking up close at the languages it's in, I can see German, French, Spanish, and Russian. So I do believe that this is the European style packaging, though it is very, very strange. This version of Diesel, with this angry face right here, the updated angry face, was released in 2005 when they revamped some of the models, such as Oliver. And I think that he was in the line up until 2011 when Tomy made their own version of him with the CGI face. But he doesn't have the theft-proof packaging. He doesn't even have the packaging from 2011 Learning Curve. So I guess the packaging in Europe and the UK was different. I did buy this from a US seller, so it is strange that this is in this packaging. But you can just open up this tab. This is very similar to the Sodor road repair that we just looked at. Similar packaging to that. And you could just flip this out. So it is interesting that I guess they didn't go to the other type of packaging in different markets from the US. But anyway, just spinning around this package, I already briefly talked about the left side of the packaging on the back. On the right side, it is pretty much the normal stuff you'd see on the US packaging. It is dated 2011, so I guess I think it would be from around 2010 to 2011. And it just has a bunch of gibberish on the back. That lion symbol, which always seems to be on there, I still don't really know what that's from. But it has the Learning Curve logo right here, the older style of Thomas Wind Railway logo, and the diesel plaque right here. So let's just open this guy up. And I think I can do this on camera. Oh, okay, this tape is... Oop, I hit the camera. This tape is very troublesome right there. Similar to the engine inside, who's a very devious engine. And just trying to get him out of the packaging. I really want to keep this packaging, honestly, as all of the packaging. That's kind of a given at this point. And there he comes out of the packaging. And I think we're just going to put this off to the side here. And a little bit of packaging ASMR. I struggled with that a bit. And he is very, very shiny. There was a bit of dust on him there. And here's a pamphlet. We'll look at that in a second. But look at Diesel right here. He is very, very shiny. And that face is just a great Diesel face. That's really a face you want Diesel to have. You know, the smiling face of the Diesel, I actually have another Diesel right here. This Diesel's face is just not that's just not a good Diesel face. He's supposed to be a nefarious engine. And having this annoyed face, this devious face, as I said before, evil face, I guess you could say, it really does add to the model. And right here, here's just a bit of plastic insert that came along with the Diesel. It has a bit of writing on there. And looking at the pamphlet right here, so let's just look at the pamphlet. This pamphlet is very, very different from anything I've seen. So I do think that this is from Europe. I know some people in England don't like being referred to as from Europe, but you know, the old world packaging, I guess you could say, and if you want to put it in those terms. And you can see the early engineers right there, a CGI picture of Thomas from the nitrogen era, and the engines, like, they're spread out. It has sort of a baby blue color scheme. There's some of the destinations there. It really is very different. Right there, and let's see what that says. Okay, it has the UK, I don't know how to pronounce that, but in the Netherlands, Germany, Canada, Japan, and France. So this definitely is international packaging. I've really never seen anything like this. It's dated 2010. I don't know what zip bin is. As you can see right there, that's what it says. But this is really, really different. And, oh, something else I noticed. If you look at the clock tower right here, you can see it says UK and Germany only. So that would make sense. That maybe it's not in the other European country markets. And maybe this was packaging for the Asian countries too. I'm not really sure. I'm really not knowledgeable about this stuff. I'm only used to the American packaging that we got over here. But that is a very interesting pamphlet. And that's something I really am happy to add to my collection there. As I do have pamphlets from other eras, and getting the other pamphlets before, I had some of those from 2007 to 2008 and 9, but that's something I do not have, and I don't think many other people have it, at least for where I'm from in the States. But anyway, looking at this Diesel right here, he is... Oop, they coupled together. Well, I guess they already want to plot evil plans together, although I'm not sure how devious that Diesel on the right is. He kind of looks like he just wants to have a good time. Well, this Diesel, he wants to give someone else a bad time. And that face really does show it. I was watching Diesel Does It Again the other day, a classic series episode from season 3, and that really does look like an expression Diesel would have in that episode. On the side right there, he has his detailing. The lines are a bit thinner, and I'd say the detail is finer than that which appears on this Mattel Diesel. Comparing them from the front, this Diesel right here has a darker buffer color, and the Diesel on the right has a lighter buffer color. You might notice that he has an imperfection in the buffer right there to the right. Some of the paint is chipped off. That's something that was in the packaging. I noticed that from the listing, and when I first got this item a couple months ago, that is why it was so cheap. I got this for $14, and I'm sure that's why it was so cheap, but that's not really something that's going to affect the model that much. In close-ups, I can get around that with filming and not showing him from that side. But even then, it really doesn't, add anything bad to the model. On the back there, they are pretty much the same, although here's the thing with these models. I've seen some people give flack to learning curve as of late, but just looking on the back of these engines here, there is no parting line on this Diesel. You can really not see where it was assembled. And of course, the light is bouncing off this, and his body right there. The camera's going in and out of focus because of how shiny and well done this model is. You wouldn't know that it's made of wood. It really does feel like it's sort of fake wood. I wouldn't blame a parent for not realizing that these models are wood. And that is why with this Diesel, that's why Mattel started to make these models a bit cheaper, because they wanted to really show that these are made of wood. And of course, that is what led to Thomas Wood, which no one likes. But really, these Diesels are very different compared to each other. I thought, I'd just get a Diesel with a evil face, I guess you could say. But there are quite amount of differences. I do like the darker colored buffer beam, as I said before, with the sort of crimson red. It does look better than that bright red. Although the later version of Diesel, I got this Diesel right here at Day Out with Thomas in a bin of just engines. And the later version of that Diesel had no red buffer beam. And this was the only one at Day Out with Thomas that had that red painted front. And I just got it out of the blue, and I'm really glad that I did, because if it didn't have that, I think it would be even worse. Also, the face on the later Diesel is worse in my opinion, too. I think the best Diesel, probably out of all of them, would be the 2011 Tomy Diesel. That face is a really good face. It's CGI, and that model probably is even better than these two. But I think that this 2005 Diesel is a close second. And also, I got some cool packaging, and I got an interesting pamphlet that I didn't have before. I'll definitely be having Diesel in my series, of course. More on that later. And maybe I'll do a remake with him someday. There are a fair amount of Diesel episodes that I could do. And if you remember previously, in No Vein James, I used this Diesel for both versions. Well, actually 3 versions. One of them never appeared on YouTube. But the 3 versions of that episode that I made. And it really just didn't work with the smiling Diesel. With the plotting evil Diesel that you can see right here, it really just works better to show that Diesel is up to no good. I'm very glad to have this model in my collection, so let's move on to the next item. Our next item isn't in the best of condition, and when I say that, I really do mean it. Here is our next item, and it is the Thomas Wooden Railway Fergus. And the packaging, as you can see, is completely destroyed. Only the plastic part that holds in the actual Fergus is intact. The whole cardboard part is just completely gone. I don't know if it went through a cement mixer, but something happened. I'd already used that joke before, but something obviously happened. Maybe it went through a war or something. Some kid had a fun time playing with it, but not actually opening it. Though the Fergus inside actually is intact. He is hopefully in mint condition. I got this off eBay for only $7. And it was on one of the later pages on eBay. I actually didn't put new in box in the search term, though this technically is still new in box, even though there really isn't a box left as the whole cardboard part is gone. But once you get on the later pages of eBay, when you first put in a search term, you get some good deals like this. So I always try to look for good deals like that. It still has the nameplate of Fergus, and it has the little tag that says flywheel rotates as wheels rotate, which is nice. And I do have Fergus, actually. Here he is. I don't really remember where I got Fergus, but it was at least 10 years ago, I'd say. And he isn't in the best of condition. And this is another case of me wanting to upgrade one of the models that I already have, in this case Fergus. And he has been getting on in years, so I thought it would be an apt time for an upgrade. On his flywheel right there, you can see there is a bit of scratching. You can scratch it off with your fingernail, though I advise not to do that, as that obviously ruins the model. And you can see that that's just painted red right there that became white, which is the undercoat of it when you scratch it off. And his face is, for the most part, intact, though there is some yellowing in his face and part of his eyebrow is off. And there is just some general chipping of the paint. So I thought it would be a good idea to get another Fergus. On the back here, you can see there is still the character card. There is a pamphlet in there, and, of course, Fergus. Although this whole packaging is just destroyed. And there is some Scotch tape. This was actually falling apart when I got it first in the mail, so I had to tape it up. Though I really do think that this is new in box, as it was pretty sealed. It's just that a little bit of air was getting into it, so I decided to Scotch tape it so no further damage would happen. It is labeled 2005, as you can see there, and I think that is the year that Fergus was released. Although, maybe it isn't, because Season 7 came out in 2002. Or 3, I don't really, 2002 or 3, it really doesn't matter. So maybe he was released earlier, although I do think that 2005 was sort of a catch-all year for these newer models, such as the Season 7 crew and some of the Season 6 models. Maybe Fergus was introduced in Season 6, I don't really remember. I do know that Harvey and Salty were, but I'm not really sure about Fergus. I do know that his model was damaged during the filming of one of those episodes. I think it was one where there was some sort of accident, and I do know his model was damaged. Let's hope that this model isn't damaged. As we try to open this up, there is a fair amount of Scotch tape on here. Maybe I overdid it a little, but it looks like here's a plastic insert right here. That's something we've seen on a couple of these items now. That doesn't really matter. I will be keeping it, though. And here's a pamphlet. I'm really happy to get all of these pamphlets. It really is increasing just the scope of my collection with the different variety of stuff it has. I do have a lot of engines, but now I also have a lot of pamphlets, which are, in themselves, pretty interesting. This one is much more standard compared to the pamphlet that came with Diesel. It is very familiar. There you can see the Sodor Road Crew that we just took a look at a couple items back. Also George. So a lot of these items were around at the same time. And on the back there, nothing really different, although you can see that is the 60-year Henry, so 2005, I'd say that's probably when this pamphlet is from, and if you look at the date there, we could focus, thank you. It does say 2005. So this is a 2005 pamphlet. That is pretty interesting. But let's get on to the actual engine, which is Fergus right here. The other Fergus is in the background, sizing up his replacement, I guess you could say. That Fergus in the background is now only going to be relegated to either crashes or the extra section of my collection. Which still isn't bad. He gets to be featured in a video every now and then. So this back part is just completely torn off right there. I'm not really planning on keeping this packaging, as it is just it is in such bad condition. Here's the Fergus character card. It is thick like the Trevor character card. It really was weird that that one card was so thin. I never really experienced that before. I don't know why it was made of such a different material, but anyway, Fergus is the traction engine who shunts trucks at the cement works. He is a reliable, down-to-earth engine who believes in playing by the rules. Unsurprisingly, he's resistant to change and can be irritated when other engines muck about. Okay, so there's nothing really wrong with that character card. As I think I said before, there have been some pretty funny blunders in the past, but not that one. Here comes out Fergus, and there is this plastic insert that was just right here, holding him in the packaging, and there's another one right here, holding him from one magnet to another. So that just popped off. This is probably going in the scrap pile. Fergus, though, will not. And taking a look at Fergus here, he is looking very smart. That blue color, which is almost sort of it's a deep blue, almost purple, is just a really nice coat. And the white wheels and the red parts in the wheel well really just accent that. It is really, really nice. Oop, he fell off the track there. Let's zoom in a bit so we can get a closer look at our favorite engine who plays by the rules, and Fergus. I don't know he has the best personality. I really don't find Fergus that interesting, but this model makes me like him a little bit more because it's just so crisp, and it is in mint condition, so I am happy that I was able to get him for only $7. That is a very good deal in my opinion. His face right there, it did look like part of his eyebrow was off, but that's just how the light is bouncing off his face, which is very, very shiny. Compared to this Fergus right here, if you put them side by side, yeah, one Fergus definitely has a weathered face, while the other is just crisp and new. So this Fergus really is nice. You can see the gold details of just various handrails, I guess, and there's also black handrail detailing. On the back, there's nothing, but there is this ledge where I guess the driver would stand, and there is a little area where I guess maybe his coal bunker would be. And as he moves along the track, he does have the action of... Oop. Well, I hope he does. There was something sticking there. I don't know what that was, but as he moves along the track, well, I hope he'd have the flywheel action. That is kind of interesting. Well, we might have hit trouble in paradise here, guys. Part of his wheel, well, his front wheel is very sticky, as you can see. It doesn't really like moving that much, which is pretty peculiar. Huh, is that like that on this Fergus? I think it just needs to be tested out more. I think it just needs to become a little bit more unstuck. As you can see, this Fergus, his wheel spins pretty freely. So I guess it's just something that this Fergus will have to get used to the track. Although, you know, every time I get one of these good deals, something has to go wrong. Though I don't think this is too big of a deal. I think that can be solved with a bit of just running on the track. But overall, I do really like this Fergus. That little quirk of him coming out of the box not really being able to, I guess, work properly is a little bit concerning, but I really think with time that will get sorted out. He does have some nice detail up on his boiler here. It is plastic, but this is a time where plastic was used for good, and most of the other detail on him is wood, so I give that plastic a pass because it really just did enhance the model without subtracting too much. So that Fergus is very nice, and in the state of his packaging right here, it is pretty amazing that he was still mint condition, although I am unsure about that quirk with his front wheel, how it doesn't really spin, which kind of defeats the purpose of a Thomas Wynne Railway model, though as I said, that will probably be fixed in future. So let's move on to the next item, and I think the next item, we're going to be taking a look at that big box. So stay tuned for that, that's coming right up. This item is not necessarily new in box, although I would say it's in the box. As you can see, it is in a prime package right here. Although I did not get it from Amazon, I actually got it from eBay. And I think I got a pretty good deal on this. It's been something that I've been desperately needing since I got another very good deal a couple months back. And it really does amaze me that it took me this long to actually get to this item, because I did buy that other item such a long time ago. And speaking of that other item, let's take a look at it. It is the Thomas Wynne Railway Roundhouse, Tidmouth Sheds. So as you can see, the price tag right there, it's $8.99. So I got this for $9. I got this at a thrift store. And usually with thrift stores, I sometimes get something interesting. I really only remember the one time I got something really great. I got some VHSs, a DVD, a rare VHS, which is very nice, and a Take Along Gordon. I really never found Thomas Wynne Railway there. But when I saw this Tidmouth sheds in the store on the shelf, I was absolutely flabbergasted. I was very, very elated to find this, as unfortunately there wasn't any other Thomas Wooden Railway there, no engines or stuff like that. But this was just sitting open on the shelf, and I'm really glad I found it on that day I went, because I only go once a month. So I'm really glad I found it on that day, and I was able to score this. I don't really use Facebook Marketplace and Craigslist, but on eBay, for example, this will set you back $50 without the turntable. So I'm just really happy to have this. I think it does have some general wear and tear, although it's a destination, so I don't really care about that. The only real big issue with it is that it has this black mark right there. So I think that's obviously some type of marker that was on it, but that's not too big of a deal. And I have kept the price tag on it just to show how much I got it for. I will be taking that off soon. But if you've watched my videos at all, really all my videos, this is the only roundhouse that I've ever had. And this is the Melissa and Doug roundhouse. And I got this at a garage sale when I was really, really little. My parents went to this garage sale and they got a ton of track, this Melissa and Doug sheds, a couple other odds and ends, and a couple engines. And that's really where I got most of my track from. If you notice, a lot of my track is not name brand Thomas Wooden Railway, because it's Melissa and Doug track, which came from this garage sale. So you can see the Melissa and Doug logo right there. And this roundhouse is okay. Nothing really that great about it. But we will compare and contrast this one and this one with the thing that I'm going to take a look at in this box. You can probably tell, based on what came here, what I'm missing to complete this roundhouse. But for the time being, I'll take these two off screen all the way. Let's not have any of it on screen. And let's take a look at this package. So it is flipped around because address and important stuff are on the other side. So let's try not to show that off. I have my scissors here, and I'll probably actually need them this time. I have had this package in my, well, at my house for, I think, over a month now. So by my standards, it's really insane that I've kept this around for a month and not opened it. Because usually when I get any Thomas Wooden Railway item, I immediately open it. Because I really want to check if there's anything wrong with it. Just what it looks like, because I love getting new stuff. I'm sure everyone does, but I really enjoy when I do occasionally get Thomas Wooden Railway. I enjoy getting it. And I can't return this now. It's way past the return window. So if there's something seriously wrong with this, you'll firsthand see my reaction to it, because this will be, I think I paid $28 for this. So this will be $28 wasted if there's something wrong with this. I'm having a little bit of trouble with the box here. I think that's okay. Turning around to the other side. I don't think this is the way I should have opened the box. It's on the other side, but as I said, the other side has some important details that I really would rather not disclose. So I'm using the other side of the scissors there. It's pretty smart by me. It's trying to get in this. There we go. Got in the package, and there is a fair amount of bubble wrap in here. And you can see from the general shape, it is circular, and I got myself a turntable. There is a ton of bubble wrap. Wow, this is not gonna be damaged, I hope, with the amount of bubble wrap. Good grief, there's a ton of bubble wrap in here. And here's the actual uh-oh, it fell out the other end. That's not good. But here's the actual product here, and this is the turntable part. We'll put that in the box for right now. But just take a look at how much bubble wrap there was. It's a very long piece of bubble wrap, and it goes all the way there. That is just kind of ridiculous. That might be a little bit overkill, but whatever. Can't do anything about it now. But I will hopefully try to reuse that, because that is just a real waste of bubble wrap, if you ask me. But looking at the turntable here, it looks in pretty good condition. There is a little bit of just general dirt and wear on it, so I'll definitely be cleaning this just to make sure. But here's the actual turntable, well, table part, I guess you could say. And I've never had a Thomas Wooden Railway turntable, so this is really interesting to see what this is like. At the bottom here, there is some of this packaging that you can jump on and pop, and that's kind of fun. But we're not going to be doing that in this video. I think it's gone on long enough. So here's the actual turntable, and what I enjoy is that it came with the turntable walls right here. And usually on turntables, I notice that that is something that is most often missing with these turntables. So this hole right here, I've noticed, is a bit raw. I think maybe someone's taken and put these in and out too much, but it is nice that these actually come out so you can take them off if you don't want them on there, though that's how they got lost so easily. On the back of this right here, it says Brit Alcroft 2001, so that's pretty standard. And I do believe that this roundhouse, if I'm going to just look at it off screen, I do believe that the roundhouse is also, yep, it's from 2001. So these match. So that's a big deal. I really want these two pieces to fit together. And as I said, I've never had a turntable before, so this is really, really interesting. So, for some people, I know that this is going to be pretty boring, but for me, who's never had that, this is really interesting to have. So it turns like that right there. You can also just turn it by yourself. And as I noted, there is something wonky with this hole right here that, if you see the turntable well, kind of leans. But that's not really that big of a deal. I just can't hold it like that. I can just do like that, or obviously I probably should just use the knob right there. So let's take a look at this roundhouse again, and it really amazes me that this turntable is bigger than the roundhouse, because when I first got this Thomas Wind Railway roundhouse, I was amazed at how big it was. I really never realized how large of a destination it is. I can't wait to see what Knapford Station is like when I inevitably get that, though that's even more expensive than this. And the problem with this Tidmouth Sheds is, well, I guess I shouldn't call it Tidmouth Sheds, but the problem with this roundhouse is if we take Spencer right here, I just thought he'd be an interesting character to showcase. That's as far as he can go in the sheds before his tender starts going out the back. As you can see, he just fell off the track there. So if I put him, let's put him back. You can see right there, he's not all the way on, but he has to be, like, to be realistically in the sheds, he has to be that far back, and his tender's obviously off there. So when I actually film my episodes, some people probably notice this, the tender engines don't have their tender, so they're just in the sheds like this. And even then, they're still sticking out. So it really is something that I've been wanting to change with this. And it can only fit, well, I guess they both only fit 5 engines, but at least you can fit the bigger engines in this licensed Thomas Wind Railway sheds. So this comes with this piece, because I know some Thomas Wind Railway sheds actually come with that piece, but I'd rather have the turntable. But it also comes with this turntable, and immediately you can kind of see the problem with this turntable. It is ridiculously tiny, and there is no shot that Spencer will be able to use this. And even his tender is pretty big on it. So Spencer's tender, can go wherever it wants, but obviously he can't move, so that's kind of pointless. If we put Thomas on here, he just fits on the turntable. But this reminds me of the turntable that was in episode 1, Thomas and Gordon, or Thomas Gets Tricked for American audiences. And that's kind of the turntable that this reminds me of, but I'm not doing a remake of that episode, so I really don't need this. I guess that's the only reason you would need it. And I do know another user, Peter Sam Studios, also has this shed and turntable, and it's just really not useful, honestly. I really just did not like filming at the sheds because I was so limited with what I could do. But now that we have this bigger turntable, and you can see this is double this, maybe even triple the size of this small one. So I'll be honestly retiring the small one. I really don't think I need that shed anymore. I will still keep it, of course, but I just really don't think I am going to use it for that much. And here's the moment of truth. We are going to see if this turntable works. And this is really a big moment of truth, because I might have wasted a lot of money, or I might have spent a lot of money but gotten something good in return. So let us fix this turntable well right here, which is being a little bit wonky, and just fit into the groove there. And I do think that this works, and this is just awesome. As I said before, I know most people will find this boring, but to me, who's never had this before, this is I really love this. This is really great. I really is a great thing. This is really enjoyable. So let's just put some track right here. Oop, hit the camera right there. Sorry about that. And here's some of my clickety-clack, really my only clickety-clack track right there. And let's just test this turntable out. So I think we'll take Diesel, who I'm very happy with. I'm glad I got Diesel. If he wants to go in the shed, he can take a spin on the turntable. Oh, that's so fun to do that. And, well, I guess he doesn't want to go in face first, so let's do cab first. And if he goes in, you can see he goes in there, and then, oh, that's so awesome. I really enjoy that. And the track really does fit with the turntable. I know you can put some signals right here. I think that's what these little holes are for. And this turntable is just really awesome. I really don't have any gripes with it, honestly. Oop, I didn't line it up perfectly there. But as you can see, Spencer fits on it. I guess the only engines that would not fit on it, which, keep in mind, are probably Samson, because he's so big. And I do believe that the Thomas Wind Railway 2022 tender engines would not fit on this turntable. But that's really not that big of an issue. So with Spencer the Grand Engine, oop, I turned him the wrong way, would want to go in the sheds. I bet he wouldn't want to sleep next to Diesel, so he'll go on the other side of the sheds. And he can fit all the way in the sheds. And let's see, where does... Okay, he can go that far back in the shed, and he'll be fine with that. So that's really interesting and really cool, honestly. And then, you know, our number one engine, Thomas, he wants to go home, because I guess this is where he sleeps in the TV series canon, at least. And, you know, Thomas, not the perfect jump, but he can go around on the turntable and be the number one engine and all that. So, overall, this is a really awesome that I got this turntable. I'm really, really happy with this turntable, and I'll use it for so many things, and I will explain that at the end of the video. I mentioned not liking filming at Tidmouth Sheds. Well, soon I'll be doing a lot of filming, because I'm starting a new project, which, let's just say, is a remaster of something old that I did, or I've done multiple times. And this will really help the aesthetic of that project, because this will just help tenfold in just making it better and more visually interesting and allow for more story opportunities. I'll leave it at that. But to wrap this little segment up, I am in love with this turntable. It's really awesome. I'm glad nothing was wrong with it, as I have had this package for so long. I do have an excess amount of bubble wrap now, which I'm really not sure what I'm going to do with, but that's a problem for another day. Right now, I'm really satisfied with the product that I got. So, let's move on to our last few new in-box items, and then maybe at the end, I'll put them all around the turntable, and we can have one last look. But first, let's get to those items. And we are back to the road vehicles, and here's Byron. He is a pretty obscure character in the grand scheme of things. I know he only appeared in the Pack series, and maybe in Season 12 in The Great Discovery. Don't quote me on that, but he might have appeared with the other Pack characters. He wasn't reintroduced in the Brenner era. He was replaced by a Brenda character, I think her name was. She's pretty irrelevant herself, so these bulldozers in Thomas and Friends don't get much love. Though this model should get a lot of love, because I think this is a great Thomas Wind Railway model. And it is a pretty rare one, too. It was only in production from 2011 to 2010, and as you can see on the back here, this is from 2010, the last year that this model was produced. It does have his nameplate, as most of this packaging from this time did. Push cab to lift blade. And his blade right there, as you can see, if you push down the cab, it lifts up the blade. Similar to Jack right here. If you push down his cab right here, it lifts up his bucket. And I think that is a really cool feature. And bringing in another model here, we're going to bring in a lot of models during this. Here's Terrence with his treads. And I do hope that Byron with his treads, they are better intact than Terrence's here, as Terrence's just completely fell apart when I tried to actually operate him. So let's hope that Byron isn't the same. I did open this off camera just a little bit, just before this segment of the video, as I did not want to ruin this packaging, as it is not as bad as Trevor's packaging, though, I didn't want to rip the back part of it, as I have done that with the previous model. So let's try to get Byron out of here. And he is a pretty chunky model, I guess you could say, so it will take a little bit for him to get out of there and bend the packaging a little bit. But overall, I don't think that was too bad. It looks pretty intact. You could hang this on a store shelf. Of course, there's no engine, or I guess you could say bulldozer, in the actual packaging, though it would look not too much out of place. There's no pamphlet or character card that comes with this, which is a little bit disappointing, but we have gotten a lot of those so far, so it's not too big of a loss. Here is this part, which is pretty interesting. This is what held him in. There is a bottom part and the back part right here, which held him in the packaging. That is another interesting piece of plastic right there, and I am accumulating a lot of those, so it will be kind of interesting to remember which boxes all of those go in. Here is Byron right here, and first off, let's see if he actually works. I am a little hesitant to do this, as I do not want him to just completely break, though I do think that his treads will be... Oh, that really scared me right there. I do think his treads will be better than Terrence's. And going along there, he is a little bit jittery, though I do think that his treads work, though, man, they are really fragile. I'm honestly pretty nervous about that. I might not push him along that much, as I just do not want those to break, similar to how Terrence's did. So I don't really know that much about Byron. As I said before, he is a pretty obscure character. He does have a magnet on the back, similar to Jack, who has a magnet on the back. And also, I have Patrick, which is the only other pack character I have. Though I guess, I have Isabella, who, of course, is a pack character. Though she is a little bit different from these, as she is a Lori, similar to Lori 1 or Elizabeth. Weird that their names are so similar. I do hope to get Elizabeth soon also. I was going to get her for this video, but she was a bit pricey, and I decided to get the Trevor instead, which was a fair bit cheaper than Elizabeth. Just trying to save cash here and there. He has a really nice coat of yellow paint, and his face right there is a pretty interesting face. That is, it's oddly shaped for a Thomas character face, and that expression, him looking off to the side, I really don't know what that expression even is. He has a little chin on the bottom there, and his eyebrows are a pretty peculiar shape right there. So he is a pretty interesting model. His treads right there, the wheels, some of the wheels, these small wheels right here, aren't actually connected to the treads or touching the treads, though they do the trick in providing an illusion that that's how his treads actually move. He has some engine detailing right there, and not actually too much painted detailing. He is number 18. Jack is 11. Patrick is 22, and Patrick's 23, Isabella's 22. So I guess that all these numbers go in succession. I'm interested to see what Alfie's number would be, or Max and Monty's. I do hope to get all the pack characters, as I really do enjoy these models. I think they are really well done. Of course, they aren't really in scale compared to the other engines, but they are nice models. Is that really how his cab is? How it is kind of small around the window area and such a big lip? I don't know if they did that for just this model's purposes of going up and down, or that's how it is. I'd have to look at another picture of Byron. I guess this would be his smokestack right here. I'm assuming he runs on diesel oil, and he does move along pretty nicely, though that feature is pretty scary doing that. Let's take these two off the track for a moment. And actually, I'm going to hold down the other end of the track right here. Pushing him along the track, it is not the most ideal thing, and really, doesn't get around that well. I think he's more just of a static model, which is totally fine. I don't think that Byron is going to appear in that many of my videos, to be quite honest. I think he's just going to look really nice on my shelf along with my other models. And of course, he is in new condition, and he's just a really nice model. I'm really happy with him. There is a bit of, what is that? There's just some sort of mark and something else on his model right there, but that's not too concerning. He is primarily made of of plastic. I almost said wood, but no, he doesn't really have a lot of wood in him. This part right here and this bottom section right here, which holds really his whole entire body on, this is all plastic. So he is a pretty plasticky model, although Learning Curve was adding a lot of plastic into their models towards the end there. A lot of people tend to forget that, but they really were adding a lot of plastic into their models. Overall, though, I am exceptionally happy with Byron. He has to be one of my favorites now in this video. He's just a really well done model. And while his functionality might not be the best, he is just a really nice looking model. So I am happy to have him in my collection, and for a great price too. I really do think that I got him for a steal, considering some of the other Byrons that are for sale now. And I can check him off my list. That's just another item that I now have in my collection, and I don't need to just stare at online wishing I had. So let's move on to the next item. It will be hard to top that turntable, but we are going to move on to something smaller. Although I think maybe this is even cooler, because although I do like destinations and that's really going to help me out, this is something that is just going to make me happy unboxing it. So as you can see, it is Scruff and the Garbage Car. I actually just read the title right there. I wasn't even trying to do that. This little nameplate right there. Dirty Scruff, as it says right there. It is the new newer style Thomas Wynn Railway logo. This packaging is, I think, from 2011, and really, it's pretty clean. There isn't that much on the back, and if I'll have to be honest, this is probably my favorite style of packaging, just because it's just neat, concise, and there's not just a bunch of gibberish on the packaging. It has a nice shape to it with this plastic insert, which makes it sort of theft-proof, I guess. Harder to get into. But also just this cardboard back, and as I said, not really that much gibberish on the back. And following a similar theme for this video, I already have Scruff. Here he is right here. And he does have a fair amount of wear on his cab. His face is looking pretty good, but this is not the Mattel Scruff. This is the Tomy Scruff. So I guess maybe this is, well, maybe this is maybe this is Learning Curve Scruff. I don't know if Learning Curve specifically made a Scruff. They must have, I guess, if it was 2011. But this is Tomy Scruff. You can see he has buffers right there. And I guess that this Scruff is the Tomy Scruff because he has a similar face and he has the buffers. And for some reason, Tomy put buffers on the most random engines. And also, just pointing out real quick, I think that Porter from 2013 or 14 has buffers, which is also really random. But looking at the Scruff, he does have a fair amount of edge wear, and that is why I want to upgrade his model. And it really is a 2-for-1, because although this is Dirty Scruff, so he is sort of a special variant, he really is just Scruff, and also he's always dirty anyway, so it doesn't really matter. And you get a new truck, or garbage car, I guess it is. I really don't know when to use the American and British terminology, but I guess I'll use garbage car for this since that's its official name. Looking on the bottom, yeah, it's just garbage car. And this does say Learning Curve brand, so that is kind of interesting. So I guess this is Learning Curve, and this is the Tomy. But I really don't see any differences. So maybe they just use the same exact tool for this model and just reuse the tooling for it. I also have Whiff here, which we could compare with a little. He does have the dirt on him. I got him off Amazon about 2 years ago. I think I actually did an unboxing video of Whiff 2 years ago, so that's pretty nice. You can check that out if you want, although I'll assure you it's not as good as, not to be arrogant, but it's not as good as this unboxing video. The aspect ratio is all messed up, and I don't think I do that good of commentary. But anyway, onto the Scruff. Let's just take him out of the packaging. And as I said, it is relatively easy to get into this. You can just pull this back part right here. I've had the Scruff, I think, since November, yeah. So I got him off of Amazon, and I got, or did I? Actually, I think I got him off eBay, and I paid $20, I think, for Scruff. It was one of those similar to the George that I got, where they had an excess of these, and you were just able to select a quantity. Obviously, I don't want more than one of these. That would be overkill. But I did select the quantity of just one because, well, I guess I could have got 2 for the garbage car, but I think 1 was enough. Just to see what it's like. So out of the package, Scruff just took a tumble there. Maybe that's a new episode idea. Scruff takes a tumble. And here is the box right there. We'll put that in the background. It is interesting how it is just one elongated, I guess, package right there. And here's the garbage car that's looking pretty crisp and nice. I did notice out of the package there was a little spot on the bottom where there was a mark or something. Looks like a different color of paint right there. If it could focus. Oh, I guess it's not going to focus. Well, oh, there it goes. Okay, you can see it's like pink there. That's kind of interesting. But that is roughly the shape of Scruff. So let's just put that off to the side. We don't really need to look at that. And here is Scruff himself. And he looks pretty nice in my opinion. On the bottom right there, it says Dirty Scruff. So this one just says Scruff. So I guess the font is a little bit smaller. And as you can see, that says Tommy UK. And that says Learning Curve. The wheels on this old one, obviously, say 2003. And I guess on this new one, they also say 2003. So I do believe that these are just the same Scruff model released under the different brands. On the bottom here, just I can notice a little scuff right there. A scuff. Oop, the camera shook. A scuff for Scruff. Another, I'm just coming up with all these episode titles, guys. No one can stop me. Oh, Scruff takes a tumble again. But let's zoom in a little bit. Enough tomfoolery with Scruff. We can turn around this garbage car. And together, they honestly look pretty nice. If you put two Scruffs right there, it's like Bill and Ben taking this to the works. And then I guess this can be, Whiff can be Edward right there. So comparing these dirty Whiff, well, he's just normal Whiff, but this version of him has a speckledness on him. So does Scruff right here, the dirt. Comparing these two on the bodies, Scruff speckles are more brown, while Whiff's are just black. So that is a difference that is noticeable. And I do believe that Scruff runs on steam. I think he is a steam engine. I don't think he's a diesel. I was confused by that before. But you can see his face right there. Looks pretty similar to Scruff, I'd say. And he has his buffers right there, which is, and on the back too. That's really interesting. Looking at this Scruff, I think there is a... Oh, I thought there was a difference in the windows, but I guess not. It does look like the newer Scruff has darker hazard stripes. The green hazard stripes, his are darker than the previous Scruff. I'm really looking for differences here, but honestly, I can't find that many. I think the most interesting part, and what I really got this for, was this garbage car, because I did want to upgrade my Scruff, and that's nice that I do have that one. But this garbage car is also just really interesting. And looking at the load here, you can see there's just a bunch of garbage. There's a tire, some leaves, a cardboard box, a broken pallet. I don't know what that is. Just some wood scraps, I guess, and some just general garbage. Fitting. But this is really, I think, the only time that I can remember that Learning Curve made a proper, just a truck or a car. That, of course, it has this load right here, but it just, if you didn't see this load, it just looks like a normal troublesome truck. And I really wish they released more of these, because this is really, really nice looking. And it looks like the red and green trucks that you saw in the Miller era. But they just did not do this. They released the gray troublesome truck, which really wasn't a troublesome truck. And obviously the giggling troublesome trucks, that 2-pack. But besides that, you had the name trucks like Fred and Scruffy, but non-generic trucks like this, which I wish didn't even have a load, or maybe just painted black, so you can imagine what the load was like. But this is just a really nice car, and I'm going to obviously use this a lot, because it is just amazing for background scenery, just to add to the scene that you're filming. The font looks similar on there in Whiff, so even if Whiff is pulling this truck, it still looks great, because, you know, Whiff's the garbage engine, and I do think also that this would fit well with the recycling cars, because obviously this is garbage and that's recycling, but they're vaguely the same principle, I guess. So Whiff would still be pulling those, and I think it would look great with that. With the other cool truck that they made, which has the rubber tires inside. So overall, I think that Scruff and the Garbage Car is a pretty interesting 2-pack. I can see why this probably didn't sell that well. I mean, it's Scruff and a random troublesome truck. What do you really need that for? But personally, I think it is really interesting, and as I said, I'd really want to see more of those troublesome trucks. Sadly, we never got those. But at least I have this one now, and at least I have one of these that I can show off and display. And of course, now I have a new version of Scruff that isn't scraped up like this old one right here. So, I'm very happy with that, and let's move on to the last of our final 3 items. Well, I guess it's the first of our final 3 items. Now that we're in the home stretch, we're chugging right along. Although this is not an engine, so it's not going to be doing any chugging. It is Butch, another road vehicle. And I will warn you, in the last 3 items that we're going to be taking a look at, this is one of them. There is also 2 other road vehicles. Well, a 2-in-1, but we'll get to that later. So here's Butch right here, and there's really not that much to say about Butch. I think he's a fine character, nothing really that special. He did reappear in the CGI series in the episode Stuck on You, I'm pretty sure it was called. That was a fine episode, I guess. It was from the Miller era, so nothing really that special. But looking at the Butch packaging right here, this is probably the oldest packaging that we've looked at so far, bar the Sodor Road Crew, although I do believe that this beats it out by at least 1 year, I'd have to assume. This is from 2001, so yeah, I think this beats that out. And I really just think it's a nice package, though I can see the problem with it being so easy to get into. On the side of the plastic part right here, you can see it says special feature. And the special feature is that the magnetic lifting arm tows vehicles and cargo. Butch's face right there, he looks a little wonky-eyed right there. Looks a little derpy. That's kind of funny. But on the back here, at the start and end of learning curve, there really wasn't that much gibberish. In the middle, there was just a ton of nonsense on here, but really, this isn't too bad. He does come with a character card, I'm pretty sure, and a pamphlet, and it's the old-style character card, so I'm very excited to see what that's like. Ghislaine is up there, and Learning Curve logo, the older-style one, and, of course, the older-style Thomas Wynn Railway logo. So, let's just open this up. I think I got this for $12, if I'm pretty sure. I really do not remember what time I actually got this. I think it was around November, and it's really just been a long time. I'm not really sure about how to go about opening this up. This sticker right here, it seemed easier with Diesel 10. Diesel. You know, his name's just so generic that you want to say Diesel 10. I wish I opened a new unboxed Diesel 10, although I already have a Diesel 10, but I think it would be interesting to get one of those CGI ones, because I like that CGI Diesel 10 a fair amount. I would hope they make them in Thomas Wynn Railway 2.0. But anyway, back to classic Thomas Wynn Railway. I got that part of the packaging open, and I think first we'll take a look at the pamphlet. And also, as I said, it comes with a character card. And it is a long ways right there. That's kind of interesting. And here's Butch. Wow, this is really cool to get one of these old-style character cards. The cropping job on that is not that good, honestly. He's just in a blue nothingness, and I think this is his prototype model, because his face does look a little bit off, though it has the Butch right there, which is nice, and maybe there'll be a grammatical error on this to make it funny. Butch is very serious about his job, and he loves to work, especially with his engine friends. Despite his immense size, he is a kind-hearted giant. Okay, that makes sense. The only thing I'd say is that they did not end that sentence with a period, which, you'd get marks off that if it was an English essay, but there is that wooden figurine of Sir Topham Hatt right there, which is always intriguing. I hope to get that one day soon. But we'll move the Butch character card off to there, and we can look at the pamphlet, I guess, and, oh, this is going to be fun. This is an older style pamphlet, and already, oh, this is so cool. This is really, really cool. Again, I've really never had this type of pamphlet before. I'm most of my pamphlets are from around 2005 to 2010, I'd say. And, oh, let's probably go to the front, I guess it would be. Oh, this is really cool. Okay, so you can see that all these engines on the bottom, Butch was actually new this year. The hideous Rickety, which is the prototype of him. And spoilers, one of the items in this row right here, we're going to be unboxing. So maybe put down in the comments which one you think it is, although we'll be getting to that in due time. And this is, oh, you can see the Magic Railroad advertised right there. Some new rolling stock. The first of the aquarium cars, the beginning of the end, the airfield right there, the coal station, the Sodor Dairy Farm. These are really just classic destinations. And of course, the roundhouse right there, which we just took a look at in 2 segments ago, I guess now it was. And the battery-powered engines, those are pretty cool. And on the back here, you can see that there's the Boko and James set, which is the James Goes Buzz Buzz, some other various sets, some of the track packs, the Sodor, or the roundabout action turntable right there, which we just took a look at 2 segments ago, as I said. The mountain tunnel, which before I actually had a chance of getting and I didn't. I'm really mad about that. But what year is this from? This is also from 2001. Okay, so I guess they updated the pamphlets every year. But that is a really nice pamphlet to have, and I will definitely be holding on to that. I've never had one of those, not even 90s, I guess it is, but just really early 2000s pamphlets. So taking Butch out of the packaging right here, he had no plastic insert to protect him in there. So that is a bit interesting. That's a difference in time from this to that Scruff that we looked at, which he had an insert in the back to protect him from scraping up against the packaging. But there is the package right there. We'll put that off to the side. And I guess we'll zoom in a little bit and put Butch on the track. And honestly, I think he looks pretty good. I do prefer the CGI series Butch that they made. I think Mattel. Well, yeah, I think Mattel or Tomy, I'm not really sure. One of those two made him, and I do prefer the proportions and everything of that Butch model. Although this one will suffice for now, and it was new in box, so that's always a plus. As I mentioned before, his eyes are really wonky. That is kind of funny. And you see he has a little bit of stubble right there. His eyes are really weird. Isn't that interesting? He's like reverse cross-eyed right there. But he has his fender detailing right there. And the little grill, the door right there. And the details do look pretty crude on here, but it's just how they printed it on. Sodor heavy recovery unit. And of course, here's the magnet right here. He has magnets on a magnet on the back, but not on the front. He does have 3 wheels here, and this front wheel can move side to side. It does say Butch on the bottom, and I'm assuming, based on all the other clues we've got, that this is from 2001. And yes, it is, in fact, from 2001. If you can see that right there. So, I really like this Butch, honestly. There's not really too much to say about Butch. He's a pretty standard item. I'm sure a lot of people have him. But he is a really interesting item. And just for reference, I'm going to bring in Birdie right here. He is a fair amount smaller than Butch. So what side of the magnet does Butch connect to? His magnet was sort of resisting Birdie's right there. What? That's kind of interesting. I hope his magnet works. It'd be kind of a shame if it didn't. Maybe he can't pull Birdie. Let's try Scruff's magnet right here. Okay, there it goes. So that's actually the magnet, but you actually can't pull Birdie, which is a bit of a shame. Although, if your Butch is pulling an engine right there, you can see how that works. I don't know why he'd be pulling Scruff like that on the road, but I guess that it is a bit of an oversight that the magnet cannot connect to both a negative and positive connection. So that is a bit negative, I guess you could say, but it's whatever. I can deal with it. I don't think Butch will have that many starring roles, honestly, but he is, as I said, with other items, a great background character. He'll fit really nicely with the Sodor road crew, just as a background vehicle instead of just having the same one every scene. So we'll take Scruff off to the side. I was going to use Birdie more. I'm sorry, Birdie, but I guess you're not going to be used in this segment or the rest of the video, honestly, because Butch really just didn't interact with you too well. So this Butch, really not much more to say about Butch. I guess his front can get a little bit wonky right here, that it can derail his model a little bit, but overall that's not too big of an issue. I am happy to have Butch now. He's been on my want list for a fairly long time. He's always been sort of at the bottom, one that I add to my cart, and then if things get too expensive, I say, oh, I'll get him next purchasing spree, I guess you could say. But finally, I did acquire him quite a month back, but I'm finally unboxing him now. And along with the character card, I'm just really happy with Butch. So let's move on to the penultimate item. We are getting a 2-for-1 deal with this, as I said before, penultimate item, which is the Sodor Power Crew. And this is very similar to the Sodor Road Crew, which we looked at a little previously in this video. And as I alluded to, we are looking at another one of these, the Sodor Power Crew. The only ones I don't have are the fire engine, the hook and ladder, I guess you could say, and the water tanker, although those are on my radar for a future day. I guess I sort of fibbed in the last segment because I said that there wasn't a lot of gibberish on the early and late packaging, but in the middle there was. That was a bit of a lie, because if you look on here, it really cuts the chase. Only in the top corner right here, the absolute necessary stuff. Besides that, there's no weird logos and just a ton of just nonsense. It's sort of like the take-along packaging where you can see it from both the front, this is the front, and the back right here, which it's see-through. And you can see the character card. And let's just read the character card right now. When the power lines on the island of Sodor need repair, the power crew rushes into action to get the job done quickly and safely. I'm a little disappointed. I feel a little misled because I have not seen a character card with an outright tragic and funny error yet. But we have one more item to go after this, so maybe my prayers will be answered for that. And let's just open this up. This is another one of the packages that looks a little bit harder to get into. And I'm just going to examine it right here. I wonder how I can open this. This is in real time right here, so I am analyzing my strategy for getting inside of this packaging. And it really is a struggle. I really do not know how I will. I guess I could... I don't really want to do that, but... I guess I could cut this right here, maybe? You can see those little two holes right there. It's kind of breaking the plastic right there, but I guess that's what I'll have to do. Wow, they really... Even my scissors are getting duller. That's really tough plastic. Don't want to cut myself on that, because that kind of is a jagged edge. Maybe I'll have to... I don't want to do that, but I might have to do that. Open it from that way right there. I really do not want to do that, honestly. In the comments, you guys will probably have better ideas of how I could have gone about this, but too late now. Man, that's really difficult to get into. And that really didn't even help anything, honestly. Because that's really interesting. This package might need to be kind of destroyed to get into this, honestly. This might be a lost cause. I'm sorry that so much of the time is being taken up by me trying to get into the packaging, but I really didn't anticipate this to be so difficult to get into. Guess I should do this on camera, though it is a fair bit harder to see what I'm doing. Oop. Wow, I really rocked the camera there. You can see the edge of the set right there. Yep, the road doesn't go on forever, sadly. I don't have that much classic Thomas Wooden Railway track to have enough road for that. I'm really struggling right here. There really is no end in sight because I've only gotten this little bit of the packaging actually out. Do you know what? I might have to stop and pause and try to look at this further. I really do commend Learning Curve because if you were in a store, this would be really difficult to get into, but I do think I managed to make a little bit of headway. There is this plastic insert, once again, that was just protecting the character card. And there's the character card right there. It does look a little bit fake. You can see the cloud in the background. That cloud actually looks kind of weird, but they are on the actual track, which is a little bit strange. But there's the Sodor Power Crew. We already read the character card, so no need for that. And this package really is going to be a lost cause because I really had to tear through that. And the pamphlet we've really already looked through before, so I don't really think we need to do that. Though I did not realize, which I probably should have, that this has battery in it. So here is a battery change information. I don't think that batteries are included. That probably is not a feature that they added. But we already have, as I said, looked at the pamphlet before. So I'll just do a quick look at the age of it. 2005, we already looked at one of those. So we're not going to be taking a look at this pamphlet because I struggled with this for about 3 minutes already. So we don't really need to go through that. Here's another insert right here. And let's hope now, at least, we can get into the packaging. I guess maybe if I just take these plastic bits off, we could just keep this part of the packaging, which still looks pretty nice. But let's try to get these engines out. How about? So well, not engines, I guess they're vehicles. That was not the most efficient way to get into that packaging, but I finally actually did. Yeah, I really do not know how you're supposed to get into that. I don't even know how they assembled it, honestly. But there's the packaging right there. I have a ton of excess plastic right here. This was on the top of it holding them in. But I really do have a ton of excess plastic. I'll need to clean that up later. And, oh, the light does work. Okay. So, you can see right there, I guess there are batteries in it. And I guess they fit in right this screw. I guess they're those sort of watch batteries. Those tiny coin batteries. And you can see that the light does actually work. You can see kind of like the Batman spotlight right there moving around. And it does make sort of a clicking noise. I guess it's on sort of a mini turntable right there. And it can swivel around and go up and down and side to side, stuff like that. And the little button on here just triggers it. So that is the Spotlight lorry. And this is the Cherry Picker. Yep, that's what it's called. Okay, so that's kind of an interesting name. But, wow, that actually does extend pretty far. And this is another one of those items that I've always seen in other videos, but I've really never obviously had on my own. But they are pretty interesting. So I guess we'll take a look at the Cherry Picker first. On the front here is the lorry grill. They both have this same feature. And obviously they're on the left side since this is technically supposed to be in the United Kingdom where they drive on, well, the driver sits on the right side. If you're looking this way, the driver's on the right here. The left, I guess, if you're looking at the screen. And on the side of the door right there, it says Sodor Power on the door. And I guess this would be to fix the power lines, although it is interesting that it's called the Cherry Picker. When I was a kid, that always led me to think that this, was sort of the Coldy accessory pack, where Coldy had the apple picker, I think it was called, but different thing. And as I showed before, this actually extends, and something interesting, Sodor Power is printed on the bucket right here, which is actually really cool. So this can extend pretty far. It does have this warning light on there. There's a bit of plastic in the bottom. And there's a groove right here where the bucket can fit in when, I guess, it's driving. So the bucket, doesn't stick out of the lorry right there and hit another car like Birdie. It does only have the magnet on the back, and it does have those red painted lights right there, I guess, to represent the lights at the back of it. And on the
side of the detailing right here, it is pretty detailed. It has sort of a pressure gauge right there and a locker and a vent. So that's pretty interesting. Not too much more to say about that one, although I do really love their color scheme and also the road wheels. I really do appreciate the road wheels. So taking a look at the Spotlight lorry now, has similar detailing to the other lorry. It does have levers, or suggestions of levers, I should say, right there. It does have the same front with the windshield wipers and the driving wheel on the left side if you're looking at the screen, on the right side if you're actually driving. And as I said, it has the spotlight right there, which I'm surprised that they had that actually in the packaging. They had batteries in that. Although, is it working now? Is really the money question right here. Yeah, it does. So you really do have to press it with a lot of force, and then it does light up, which is very nice. Not too much more to say about that, although it does have a bigger grate on here compared to the one it has on there, because there's nothing that it really needs to fit into. This is more of a static, just move it around the designated turntable right there. So overall, I really, really like these items. I'm really glad to have them. Once again, just great background items to have. And for fun, let's bring in the rubbish truck. I think it was, yep, rubbish truck and the street sweeper. And they really look good together. I like how they made these four public service vehicles, I guess you could say, because these would obviously go out in a storm, and these are just a garbage truck you'd see and a street sweeper. So these four together are really nice, and it's great to quadruple the amount of road vehicles I have in addition to Butch and whatever other vehicles I can't even remember that we looked at before. Oh, George. We looked at Trevor. We looked at a ton of them, honestly. A ton of road vehicles in this video. But it's not bad to add these two, the Cherry Picker and the Spotlight Lorry, and I'm really happy to add them to my collection, and they'll be great background vehicles in future videos. So let's move on to our final item, which I think personally is the best. It's crazy that we are finally at the end of this video. It happened pretty quickly for me. Of course, for you, it probably took a very long time, as all these videos just run on way too long, even though I try not to. But anyway, this is the last item, and in my opinion, and probably in the opinion of many others, it is the best for last. It is the Northwestern Breakvan, the Spiteful Breakvan, whatever you want to call him. But this is just amazing that I got him new in packaging. And I think I paid around $25 to $30 for him. I also got him in December. And it's just really crazy that he goes for $30 used on eBay. And in my world, at least, on eBay secondhand sites, I don't make magic and get them from Facebook Marketplace and stuff. But in eBay terms, this is an absolute steal. I see him go for 80 plus new in packaging on other sites. Well, other listings, I guess I should say. And on the back right there, you can see there is a little bit of a scuff, and part of the barcode's off right there. It is from 2001, similar to the Butch, so I saved the two oldest items for last, and I think it's just time to open this up. So the sticker is peeling off a little bit here, though I do believe that this is new in box. So taking the sticker off, well, what's attached to it? That sticker's okay. I think it's fine, and I really am hesitant to open this up as it's just such a rare item, honestly, and I do feel bad taking it out of the packaging and ruining its newness. But I bought it, so I guess I have to. There he goes. So I guess we should take a look at the pamphlet first, and I think there is, okay, there's the plastic insert right here, which was in the other items, obviously. We don't really need to take a look at that. Although, here is the, it's bent a little bit, but here is the pamphlet. It's from 2001, so we already took a look at that. We don't need to take a look at that again. But it is interesting that I have double the 2001 pamphlets when I had 0 a couple minutes ago. And here's the character card. Again, it's long ways. And the NW Breakvan is a spiteful nuisance with ill will towards Donald. He is known for encouraging the other trucks to play tricks on the engines, but is taught a lesson when one of his schemes goes wrong and he gets caught between James and Douglas. Alright, so this video, there wasn't any terrible character card gaffes, but there's always next time. It has the classic Thomas Wooden Railway logo right there. I guess not the ancient one, but pretty classic in a lot of people's opinions. The Sir Topham Hatt figure again. So that's a really nice character card. It's his prototype model in that picture right there. Looks pretty similar to the final product. And speaking of the final product, he is begging to get out of here. It is interesting that he's really the only engine that, or not engine, I should say. So used to saying engine, I say it for the road vehicles too. He's really the only character that, besides Scruffy, that outright died. And even in Scruffy's case, at the end of the episode, it was shown that he was repaired. In the Railway series, of course, that's not the case. But in the TV series, this guy, his face was being lifted up, attached to none of his frame right here. So he was definitely worse for the wear. He had a black eye, I'm pretty sure. He looked awful. So this guy, in the TV series canon at least, is no bueno. He's no good. Yeah, he's in a scrapyard somewhere. But I guess that's what you get for being such a rude to the engines. I originally got Donald, but I actually do now have Douglas, number 10. And Douglas, if you want to know, is my favorite of the two twins. I think Donald, I just don't really like Donald that much. I like Douglas's name better. I think Douglas is just better. I know they're basically the same, but I do prefer Douglas for whatever reason. So I guess he couples that way, which is a little bit interesting. If I get my Toad from 2005 right here, which may or may not have lead paint, that jury's still out on that one. I won't be licking my models anytime soon, so hopefully that doesn't affect me. But Toad couples facing outward, and I do believe that's how the 90s Toad was, though don't quote me on that. Maybe that, I feel like I remember seeing somewhere that was an error with the Toad, that he had polarity on the wrong side. But that's a non-case for this video. He does have the brakes right there, which is pretty cool. And one interesting difference is that the Northwestern Breakvan doesn't have any supports right there, while Toad has them right there. He has the supports. And of course, Toad is, always happy Mr. Toad. And I'd guess he'd call the NW Breakvan Mr. Not Nice Breakvan, because he really is a nasty character in this show. And that face right there, it's really interesting to see how small that face is and how tall his eyebrows are, how thin, and just how maniacally he's smiling right there. That's an example of a smiling face that fits the character, because of course he could have a mean face, but that's a smiling face that just means trouble. That's not a normal picture-taking face, I guess you could say. His roof is cream colored compared to Toad's, which is outright white. Didn't mean to rhyme there, but the detailing on the sides right here, you can see he is lighter gray, while Toad has a darker gray right there. And these are from different eras, so that is understandable. Right here, you can see these black squares right here. I guess that's where the conductor would stand, and it does say the NW with the paneling detailing, 1320T right there. I guess I'd assume that means he's a 20-ton Breakvan. And on the bottom right here, it does say NW Breakvan in a font right there, different from the font we've seen before. And it does say 2001 on the wheels. This is when they were updating the wheels, if it would ever decide to focus. There we go. And overall, this is just a really amazing item to have new in box. And again, this is just an item that's just going to add to the depth of my collection and add to the trains that I have, because right now I only have Toad, a Sodor line caboose, and a musical caboose, which I do not have with me right now, but you see the Sodor line caboose is pretty beat up, and this just does not invoke the same realism or interest that having the Northwestern Breakvan does. And Toad, the problem with Toad is that if I have Toad on some random train, it'll be kind of weird, because Toad is a pretty sentient and common character, so if he doesn't talk during the episode, that's kind of odd. I think, if I remember correctly, with one of my episodes, Thomas and the Toy Delivery, whichever one, maybe Henry's Heroic Act, that Toad was a Breakvan of one of the trains, and he didn't talk, which is weird because he's such a notable character. But the NW Breakvan can be just some generic Breakvan, and his face is facing towards the trucks, so that also helps. And just a small, tiny little train with the scrap car right there, or the garbage car, I guess it is. And there's Douglas pulling the Breakvan, and that's just a really awesome train that you have right there. And having the Breakvan just really adds so much. And here's another item that I've been dying to have, and finally I do now have him, which is really amazing. So, I think that wraps up this unboxing video. As I had the idea earlier, we're going to showcase all these items around the turntable in a little bit here. A little bit for me, I'll have to set it up. It's going to be instantaneous for you. But this Breakvan is just amazing. I'm so happy to have him new in box. He's been sitting on my shelf for months and months and months. And finally, he's out of the packaging and all in all his glory. All I hope for and the best item out of this entire video. I'm glad I saved him for last. The best deal in my opinion. So let's get on to the closing statement.
And now here we are at the end of this ginormous unboxing video. This has been a very fun video to film. I've enjoyed the journey along with you as we take a look at all of these great items that you can see in front of you. But I have a little secret. This voice you're hearing right now is not when the rest of this video was recorded, but actually in April of 2023. Yes, this original video, as seen from the intro, as heard, I guess you could say, because I divulged that it was filmed in the middle of the summer, and I thought that was a long time away from when I originally wanted the video to come out. Well, now it's nearly a year after that, and this video has still not come out by the time I'm speaking into this microphone right now. A lot has happened, okay? I just haven't had the time really to sit down and edit this video, dedicate myself to editing this video, and I do apologize for that. I have a habit of just procrastinating on these projects. School is way more important to me than my YouTube channel. Don't get me wrong, I love this channel, but sometimes priorities have to be shown in some areas of our time, and this is one of those cases. But hopefully this video will come out now, and that you will enjoy it. It is over 2 hours long. I don't know how that happened again. I tried to do my best editing it to get rid of all of the fluff that's in the video, but I don't know how good of a job I did. Hopefully, though, you can see an improvement in my editing style. I've tried to add more visual images of what I'm talking about, and this new editing software that I got, Shotcut, is very, very good. I'd recommend it to anyone. It's actually free. So if you're on a PC that's Windows, I'd highly recommend it. It is just really great, and it's free, as I said, too, so that's a plus. Anyway, these items that I got are really cool. Now, at this point, I've had them for months and months and months, and actually, I've already filmed a collection video with all these new items present, so that will hopefully be coming down the pipeline soon, and will grace the waves of the internet soon enough. I hope to release more videos as we come here into the summer, but as always, there are no guarantees. Wooden Railway Edward always has something that goes wrong that derails him from his grand master plans. However, as I said in the intro of this video, I do have a big video, or I guess you could say series of videos plans, and keyword is series. I am rebooting my series. Yes, I actually am rebooting my series for, I think, the 4th time in a row. The first time was never seen on YouTube. The second time was. Those were my old videos in 2018 and 2019. Then, in 2020, in June, I think, I started episode 1 of the 3rd reboot, and this will be my 4th reboot. The couple first episodes will stay the same, and hopefully this time I'll get past episode 4. The first reboot, I got to episode 4. The second reboot, I got to episode 4. And this final reboot, I also got to episode 4. Well, actually, the first reboot, I got to episode 5, but that's a story for another time. Also, my 5-year anniversary is coming up in September, I believe it is. My anniversary is September 28th. That is absolutely insane. I've been on YouTube for 5 years, half a decade. And I know I haven't done that much in that time, but I've amassed over 800 subscribers, and I thank you to every single person who has watched my videos. I've posted some YouTube shorts in the time between when this video was supposed to come out and now, which have actually gotten pretty good traction. I really enjoyed making that B-roll video. I might make a video of that not in the short form, but actually in a long form video with landscape mode instead of the portrait mode. But we'll see. But as I said, I have a collection video coming and this unboxing video too. Not sure how many people will watch this video, but if they do, I don't think they'll make it to the end and hear me talking about this, but for the loyal people who are, thank you for listening to this. Now, let's take a look at a little bit of my studio. Now, mind you, it has changed a lot since I filmed this footage. This footage is back when I filmed the rest of the unboxing video, but I think you'll find it interesting how I display my Thomas Wind Railway items. And here is my little humble abode where I keep most of my Thomas Wind Railway stuff. This is down in my basement where I film my videos, although this is a corner you probably have not seen before. I really only film on one main strip of my basement against one of the walls, as you can probably tell from most of my videos, but this is on the opposite side of the basement, and as I said, no one really sees it that much. However, I think it is really cool. I built this with my dad back in the start of 2022, and it has been very useful to store my Thomas Wind Railway items. As I said in the little previous segment there, I have modified it since then, and I might throw up a picture of how I've modified it. But as you can see, I have the circular Thomas Wind Railway, I guess, logo, or it's some sort of spin game. I'm not really sure where I got it. I think it is, themed to Day of the Diesels. Don't quote me on that because, as I said, I'm filming this way after, so I'm not necessarily seeing the footage that you are, but I believe it's Day of the Diesels, and it just has a lot of Thomas Wind Railway characters along it. I've actually never seen someone have that before, so that is a little bit interesting that I have that. But, anyway, here along the side of the shelf, I guess you could say, on the top, I have in the background the Thomas Wind Railway 2.0 boxes. And unfortunately, I think that line is dead, at least for now. So, it has benefits and downsides. The benefits are that I get to collect the rest of the line before maybe anything else comes out. The downside is maybe the line will never keep going, so that's a little bit of a downer because I think it was a really good line. But anyway, in front of that, I have some new in-box items. I have a couple of Thomas Wind Railway ones, but I also have some other just new in-box Thomas items that I've gotten along the way, like that Adventures Thomas or that 75th Anniversary Diamond Thomas from Adventures. And I just binder clip them together, and I'll put them below the shelf. Now I keep them below the shelf, and it works out pretty well. Here is a little display, and here is my favorite pamphlet I've ever gotten and practically ever seen. So I taped that up on the wall. Hopefully that won't be too damaging to the paper. Here are my character cards. I'm just going to scroll along through them, and I actually now have put them in baseball card penny sleeves. I'm actually a big baseball fan. I have a ton of baseball cards, a collection shared with my dad, and I was going through all those baseball cards. That's also partly the reason why I've been absent for a while, both on YouTube and other various avenues that I am present on. However, I did put these in little penny sleeves, so hopefully that will protect the edges of these cards, as I really don't want them to get damaged, especially the unit. I guess I wouldn't call it big, but for my purposes, it is big. I used to keep these engines in shelves, and I'm glad I now have them out in the open. They collect dust, but I'm glad that people can see them. And as you can see, there is a lot of items here, and you'll be all seeing these items in my upcoming collection video, so stay tuned for that. And I think that about wraps this video up. Thank you so much for watching. I really, really appreciate it. I don't think this video will gain much traction. Trevor would be disappointed, of course. But I hope that it shows that I'm not afraid to do longer form videos. I know in the past I've sort of strayed away from that kind of content, especially with me going into shorts. But I don't mind being candid with my opinions, and I realize that not everything's going to be perfect. I don't need to portray a perfect, cleansed, 100%, what's the word I'm looking for? 100% clean or sterilized version of myself on YouTube. I can have room for mistakes, and I've come to terms with that. This YouTube channel is not a business. This is my hobby, and it's not going to be perfect. So I hope that this video shows that. There might be some errors in this video. It's over 2 hours long, but I hope you appreciate my candid opinions and me being honest with my viewership, which you are my viewership. And there's so much more in the future. I hope maybe on weekends, I could go to a shed, I guess, outside the house and film my little Thomas Moon Railway layout. Maybe that will be something that happens in the future. But for now, I'm content with making these small, humble little videos on my small little YouTube channel for audience to enjoy. So, once again, thank you for watching. The support means so much. And I will see you in the next video. I hope you have a great day.